Let's move on real quickly. We do have Fred Fleitz with us, the senior analyst for Lignet.com, also a veteran of the CIA. Fred, good to have you with us.
Good to be here, John.
All right, a pleasure talking to you. All right, we're talking about Iran. There were some interesting developments over the weekend. The country agreed to take 7 new steps within 3 months to help calm international concerns about the nuclear program in Tehran. Iran continues to reject claims as well by the U.S. and Israel that it is actively working to develop nuclear weapons, and Iran says they plan to cooperate with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to clear up any ambiguities. Fred, you know, there's no reason for us really to put much stock in anything that comes out of Tehran. Anything in what came out of Tehran this weekend change your mind about that?
It really didn't. They're offering very limited cooperation with the IAEA. For example, they're offering to provide plans for a reactor where they're going to make a heavy water reactor which could produce plutonium. The IAEA already knows how that reactor operates. They're going to let them tour a uranium mine. Iran's uranium is of low quality. It's not really significant for the nuclear program. They're going to explain something called exploding wire detonators. It could be used for a nuclear device, but also has civilian uses. They're not going to let Iran into the very sensitive Parchin military plant where they've been conducting tests to develop nuclear weapons, explosive tests for warheads. And there's a lot of very sensitive documents suggesting nuclear research that Iran has shown no interest in explaining.
Fred, also with me here on set is David Patton, senior editor for Newsmax magazine. David, wanted to ask you about these new reports about these Iranian warships and the Navy commander saying that they are going to send some warships towards U.S.-controlled waters.
So, Fred, what do you think? Do you think that there's actually some serious intelligence or military value here? I mean, obviously, our Coast Guard vessels could probably send those warships to the bottom of the sea, let alone our actual naval vessels. But we know that the mullahs who run Tehran have to guard their flank. They have their internal politics with the Republican Guard. What do you think really is motivating this?
This is a stunt, Dave. Iran does not have a blue water navy. If they're able to send ships that far, they will be at the outer reaches of their range. They'll probably have to stop in Havana to refuel to come back to Iran. This is not the first time the Iranians have threatened to do this. It really doesn't make a significant difference for U.S. security.
And also, Fred, if you look at the Ayatollah's comments over the weekend, you know, obviously a lot of bluster there as well. Is this a sign, you know, we heard those comments from the Revolutionary Guard last week. These are the even more right-wing elements of Iran. You mentioned how they're trying to shore up, or David mentioned how they're trying to shore up perhaps that base of their country. Does this show any cracks in their leadership, either the Revolutionary Guard or the Ayatollah?
I don't think there's any cracks between the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, and President Rouhani. I do believe that there are some disagreements among hardline elite elements in the Iranian leadership who may not understand the strategy by Rouhani and Khamenei to weaken sanctions. And it appears as if they're going to give up the nuclear program, but I don't think Khamenei and Rouhani plan on doing that. But the message may not have gotten down to some of these other hardliners.
Now, also important here is the way that the majority of the Iranian public views the way that America, the United States, is handling this situation. The Navy commander said that this was in a response, these ships, in a response to the United States increasing its naval presence in the Gulf. Is there anybody listening with, you know, unbiased ears in the Islamic Republic to what the signals that the United States is sending out, not just with this, but also the other things that are coming out of Geneva?
I think understanding the mindset of the Iranian people is difficult. There is a large suppressed opposition. There is a youth movement that's really not very happy with the way the country is going. But at the same time, they're subject to constant anti-American propaganda. Some of them may have been won over by this naval move, not realizing it's meaningless strategically.
And is this a way also, as we see the Supreme Leader here, the Ayatollah Khomeini, talking here on the 35th anniversary of the Islamic Republic, is this part of a bigger PR push here? Because I know David wanted to ask you also about the impact of the threat of sanctions as well.
Well, I think they're always trying to, the clerical regime wants to reinforce their hold on power. There are a variety of threats from it. Both internally, there are religious divides between former President Ahmadinejad, who has a more conservative approach to Islam, and the approach of Khamenei. there is the influx of influence from the outside through the internet, which they're trying to tamp down. And concerning sanctions, I think that is the objective of everything we're seeing here. The regime wants sanctions loosened, but they don't want to give up their nuclear weapons program. And I think they're on the way to an effective method of accomplishing this, because we are already reducing sanctions, and Iran has not given up very much.
Any reports yet, Fred, from Tehran, from Iran, that the easing of sanctions may have begun to put new economic blood into their society? We know, really, that, after all, is what brought them to the negotiating table in the first place.
I don't think the sanctions brought them to the negotiating table, Dave. I think this is simply a strategy to try to have the sanctions lowered. I think Rouhani and Khamenei are trying a new tactic. I don't think there's evidence that the loosened sanctions have had a significant effect just yet. And I like to quote John Bolton, my former boss at the State Department, concerning sanctions. He used to say, concerning North Korea, never underestimate how much pain an authoritarian regime will make their people feel so they can accomplish their policies. I think that is true of Iran. I don't think the sanctions in and of themselves are a threat to the regime. They would like them lowered, but I don't think we should fool ourselves. I'm not sure that brought them to the table.
All right. Very good. Fred Fleitz with an insider's take on developments out of Iran. Always have to keep watching the Islamic Republic. Fascinating times and a pivotal point in history to see if anything will come of these nuclear negotiations. Still have a lot more to come for you here on America's Forum. We want to hear from you as well. When we come back, we'll be talking with Ben Carson about all this new information about Obamacare, some interesting stuff. We'll look down again into some more of the details of the CBO report. We'll also get his take on whether or not he still has any interest in pursuing office in 2016. A lot of folks would love to have a candidate, Ben Carson, but is that really the best thing for him or for the party? And of course, we want to hear from everybody out there watching about this. You can reach out to us on social media. You can tweet me your questions directly at JohnB_Newsmax or at Newsmax TV. And of course, you can find us, as always, on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Newsmax. We'll be right back here on America's Forum with more from Ben Carson and much more ahead about the economy as well. We're going to take a hard look at youth unemployment when America's Forum continues for its third hour. More ahead coming up.